This is the first time that there are almost no Armenians left, which means that the region is fully ethnically cleansed, and Armenians have very little hopes to return.
Now, it's being described as an exodus on a biblical scale. More than 100,000 ethnic Armenians have now left Nagorno-Karabakh since Azerbaijan's offensive last week. That's practically the whole ethnic Armenian population. They've taken the narrow mountainous route through the Lachin corridor, negotiated the Russian checkpoints, and then finally the last Azerbaijani checks before reaching Armenia. A couple of hours ago, I spoke to Lilit Shahverdyan, a freelance journalist from Nagorno-Karabakh based in Yerevan, whose family is among those who've lived in the region for generations.
It means that the whole region, which was historically Armenian, was ethnically cleansed, and this is the first time in the history of this region that it will remain without its native Armenian inhabitants, because during all the time, during the conflict, Armenians still live there, and this is the first time that there are almost no Armenians left, which means that the region is fully ethnically cleansed, and Armenians have very little hopes to return. And again, it means that it will remain like this for a very long while.
What are your thoughts about how this happened and why it has happened now?
Because Azerbaijan has all the power to do it, because it knows that no other country, not Russia, not the US, not the Europe, will stop them, because they have good relations with Turkey, with Azerbaijan, and they had all the power to implement this ethnic cleansing while the world was busy with other wars. And they blockaded the whole region for 9 months. People were starving without electricity, without gas, without food, medicine, and the freedom of movement. And they were exhausted, they were tired, and when they launched the attack on September 19, people realized that it's the end. Like, they had to disarm their local army, and they had to dissolve the local de facto government, which basically means that the de facto Republic of Nagorno-Karabakh ceases to exist on January 1st. And the authorities already signed a decree according to which from January 1st there will be no Nagorno-Karabakh left, and it will become a part of Azerbaijan, and basically it's Karabakh economic region of Azerbaijan without any Armenians living there.
What are your concerns about those Armenians who have not left? Because some have stayed behind. How concerned are you about their fate, and how much would you trust the authorities to look after them, to take care of them as they've promised?
If I trusted Azerbaijani government, I wouldn't be in Yerevan right now, and my family would still live in their house. And it's the case for most of the Armenians. And I think those who stayed, like people say, it's a few hundred people out of 100,000 people. They are just elderly people who have nowhere to move or no ways to move, and they are just staying in their homes because they have nothing to lose. And about the trust is different because during the war in 2020, many civilians were shot dead by Azerbaijanis. Some people were raped, and even in September during the hostilities, they attacked civilians, they killed civilians, and there are proved facts of it. And in case of Stepanakert, the capital city, I really don't know, because probably they will have to show the world that, we are so humane, like we accept all the national minorities, we'll treat them very well because we don't want to ethnically cleanse this region. It was their own decision to voluntarily leave the region. And maybe just for the show, they will treat those few hundred Armenians well. But it's clear that Azerbaijan did all this because they didn't want any Armenians to stay in Azerbaijan. They basically ethnically cleansed the whole region in just 9 months. I would say in just a few weeks in September.
And what of the fate of those ethnic Armenians who are now in Armenia and indeed Yerevan, the capital, like you? What future, what fate awaits them? Will Armenia be able to absorb them? What kind of welcome will it give them?
Actually, Armenian society welcomed all the refugees very warmly, because we know that we are the same Armenian people, but just from a different region. And many people provided free housing for the refugees. And right on the border, when people cross the border with Azerbaijan, Armenians are welcoming them with food, with everything they need, and they provide housing. And the government also started doing a lot for them to find places for people to settle down. and the society is really concerned about the fate of these Armenians, because again, we're the same nation, the same people, and 100,000 refugees now moved to Armenia, and the whole society is now consolidating around helping these people. They're organizing humanitarian donations, and for example, almost all universities are gathering humanitarian supplies, food, clothing, and all these things. And many people in Yerevan, in other villages and cities, are offer their homes for people to live for free. And for example, me, I was in Goris 2 days ago to welcome my family from Stepanakert, and I was staying with an Armenian family from Goris just for free, because they realized that this is a really critical moment for the Armenian history, and the whole nation should stand with the Karabakh Armenians, and they're really helping us out.
Well, one can
One day
only
they will.
imagine coming from a safe country, as I do, and probably many of the listeners, what you've gone through and what your family have gone through. How are they coping? How are they feeling?
Well, I would say we were lucky enough because we have a roof over our heads in Yerevan. We have an apartment here, so we're not homeless. But many people in Goris, they were just sleeping in their cars because they couldn't find accommodation. My other relatives, they are also staying in Goris because they have no other place to go. And in some cases, they have to pay a lot for their living because there's a huge influx of refugees and there's almost no space left. So they have to pay a lot to just spend one night there and then find other places to live. And many families which were living together in Stepanakert in one city, they are now split. Like my own family is in Yerevan. We have an apartment here, but my grandparents have to find another place because we don't have enough space in our apartment in Yerevan. And my uncles also, they will move somewhere else, which means that many families will just disperse and move to other places, different places in one country. And in some cases, they will move abroad, I'm sure.